Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I'm your host, James Fauntleroy. Good day to all of you. Good to see all of you here with me. The Jaybefaunt channel is also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. And you can also find me as well on the JB show on Sundays, and then also on Thursdays for the Savvy and JB show, and here every single Tuesday at 2. Welcome to all of you who are joining me live on this Tuesday. It is November 25th, 2025, and we are live. So if you guys have not already, please go ahead and give a like to the stream. Helps me out to be able to reach more people. Thank you very much for that. Also, if you guys would like to, you can subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. Gives you email notifications whenever I write any articles, upload any clips, or go live just like this. And if you guys would like to ask me any questions, you guys can also do so through QBounty at qbounty.com/Jaybefaunt. So thank you so very much there. Welcome, everybody. Good to see all of you here. Come on in, come on in. I hope you guys grab yourself a snack. I hope you guys grab yourself something to drink. Today, I have myself the traditional black tea with honey and lemon. And yes, it is freshly made. That's part of the reason why I was a little bit tardy. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry, but I needed my tea today. This is actually my second cup, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Well, you don't notice, but I'm saying to myself, if you haven't noticed. Oh, that's lovely. I like a lot of lemon in my tea. I don't know. How do you like your tea, by the way? I like mine with a lot of lemon. But with that being said, how are you all doing? I hope you guys are doing good. Let's check in with you guys first, and then we will get into the show today. So, woo, that tea is kicking my behind. Well, you know what else is kicking my behind? Me not getting to the comments. Let's go. All right, we have Edward saying, "What's up, JB? Now MTG figures out why you can't be loyal to cult leaders, LOL." Yep, it's a cult. And we're going to be getting into that because this is why, I'm post-duopoly. I do not think that either party works. And I'll be discussing just a little bit about what I've experienced over the weekend and my reflections on it. And, there were a lot of good highlights that I want to go over. So we'll be going over those. So we have CBC voter coming in saying, "Happy Tuesday at JB. Good to see a CBC voter checking in." Okay, so we have Hallgall. I'm not sure who that is, but it says, "Hi, JB. Good to see you. Give me hellos everywhere." Yes, and then I will put a star on that Hallgall because I want to get back to that. We have Miss Fairbank coming in saying, "Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you." We have Zero coming in saying, I'm late. Now you're making me sound like the White Rabbit. I'm late. I'm very, very late. Oh my gosh. Thank you so very much for coming in. We have Jay Summons saying, "Hi, JB. Doing good. Reading Socialism with Chinese Characteristics. Are you currently reading anything?" Okay. Of course, on top of all the stuff that the reading I'm supposed to be doing on this channel, I have to get back to that, and I'm gonna try to get back to that this weekend. Let me take a look here, and let me show y'all what JB got. Baby, let me show you. All right, I have something that was gifted to me, and it is beautiful. I'm gonna crack this open. I'm gonna read it so good. So this here, you guys can't really see it very well, but it says quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong. This is the little red book from China, from Mao. And it's not just any little red book, guys. Take a look at this. So here it says, "Workers of all countries unite." I don't know if you guys can read that backwards, but it says, "Workers of all countries unite." And then quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong, right? Now, this is the first edition from 1966. This is a actual first edition Little Red Book from 1966 after the Chinese Revolution. Baby, it gets better. 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 And look, there you go. Chairman Mao. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. Okay. I'm telling you. And it's all, it's the English translation. This has, I think, almost as much circulation as the Bible. That's how circulated it was. So, I'm going to be getting into this. This is essential reading. I also want to get into Frantz Fanon. That's one person who I wanted to get into. And then I know one person, Roger Meadows' term is trying to get me to read A. Philip Randolph. I would like to get into him as well. I want to read all of them. I want to get into Marx, Engels, Du Bois. I also want to do Che Guevara, Dr. Ernesto Guevara. So yeah, I want to get into a lot of different works, right? Because each person has essential pieces that they have came to conclusions to within their own regions, right? And not one region is exactly like the other. So I would like to see what they learn and then see if it can be copied or adapted to us here in the United States. Because there's limited understandings between distance and time, right? And so they may not know the breadth and depth of what we understand today and what's going on in our day within this country. And so I think it's important that we glean what we can and then adapt it to our circumstances here. This is why there's certain things that I don't necessarily toss away, because I've found it to be more useful in my understanding of the working class, narrative in bringing us together. There's some who are socialists and communists that they do not agree with the phrase intersectionality, which I disagree with them on. Because my experience and all the different hats that I wear, I can see how they all intersect within a working class narrative, and as well as how we can actually come together. But it also would mean that certain bigotries and stereotypes have to be tossed aside in order for us to be able to unite. And I think that's also part of what's essential for us to really achieve a more dignified existence together within this country. So I don't want to go too far, but that's one thing I do want to get, do more. Roger Mills says RIP H. Rap Brown as well as Viola Fletcher. And you know what? I was gonna talk about him. I think I might do a separate video about him, because I don't know that much about him, and I don't want to do him a disservice. I know more about what happened in Tulsa than H. Rap Brown. So I want to give him a little, and plus I don't want to go too long into this stream. You know what I mean? I'm trying to keep my streams no more than 2.5 hours. So yeah, so that's why. Yeah. Oh, it's Holly. Hey, Holly. All right. Thank you so very much. And let me see. And then Radical Education says Kim Il-sung is also very good, really articulates a lot of clear and digestible ways. I'm going to keep that in mind. I got to keep that in mind. Thank you very much for that. And here's the thing. What I want to do is, because a lot of times people talk about Marx, which he gets a lot of things right, that from what I understand. But his scope is still somewhat narrow according to his lived experience, where he's been, and what he's observed, and in the time that he's observed it. So I think it's best to, it's almost like going to a buffet. It's like, I don't want to just fill my plate up with just one dish, with just one food, right? I want to pick from here, pick from there, pick from there, and I'm going to get all the nuances of everybody and be able to adapt it to what we have today. I hope that makes sense, right? And then Katie Lewis, who you got your book too, I know, says there are too many self-claimed communists who actively refuse to acknowledge the role identity and racism has played in devastating the working class. Absolutely. So I definitely want to be able to incorporate that into my messaging as well. Jacqueline says, I knew about the Tulsa Massacre from an old episode of this show. Ooh, I love when people learn stuff. Roger says, oh, now I've been hearing about this little red book for decades. Yeah, right? So I want to get to that. And in Radical Education says, often I think that intersectionality is often misused. It's an analytical tool, but it's often used as a source of analysis instead of an addition to. Yes. So got to get into that. And Zero says Marx, the original communist. No, actually. A lot of indigenous cultures actually practice, for what we call communism today, they actually practiced it in a lot of African and American indigenous cultures. It's just, it was given a name, just like, okay, so like Kwame Ture said, Marx didn't invent communism. It's been here. It's just like Isaac Newton observing the laws of gravity. And we call it Newton's law, but it's only because he actually he observed it and then he recorded it. And so that's how we know it's Newton's law, right? But at the same time, it's not necessarily something that he invented. So it's the same thing when it comes to communism. It's actually a natural human trait, right? And it is, so when capitalism is exacerbated by greed and selfishness, communism, socialism is exacerbated by human collectivism. So that's the difference. And the thing is that collectivism, that self-preservation was needed at the time, hundreds of years ago, post feudalism. And now that we are way past that, we're now at a time where it's like, okay, we need to go beyond capitalism now. That stage is done. It's over, right? It succeeded where it needed to succeed. Now we're at the next stage of our human evolution. And capitalism can't go there with us because it now is predicated on selfishness keeping itself alive. And so this is what we're observing today. So let's get into the stories that we're going to be talking about today, because I've talked long enough and I'm trying not to be very long-winded, but I really want to make sure I get to these stories. Thumbnail. Let's go, guys. All righty. So we have 3 stories as always. So we're going to finish off tonight about an American kid held hostage. We'll be talking about who this child is, and I say child on purpose, and why is he held hostage, and how long he's been held hostage, and what we can do in order to help this young person who is from my state. So we're going to be talking about him. Also, a little bit later, we're going to be discussing about I Quit. So we're going to be talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene calls it quits. And I'm telling you, baby, this has been an interesting ride, especially in regards to how Donald Trump has been treating her. So we're going to be talking about that. But first, we got to talk about how the fight continues. And this fight that will continue is in spite of the passing of an ancestor. So, rest in power, Mama Fletcher. So we're getting into that right now. As many of you know, I have discussed about the Tulsa Race Massacre, also known as the massacre that happened Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Greenwood district, was classified as Black Wall Street. And it was basically an area of Black Americans in the early 20th century that were prospering and they were doing well. They had shops, they had banks, they had many different businesses, they had homes where they were doing well, right? By all metrics, except for politically, if you know, because of the United States being a white supremacist nation. And so, as I've spoken on this channel, as well as what we covered on RBN, is that Black Wall Street was destroyed by white supremacy. It was destroyed by white supremacists based on lies in order to destroy what was built by Black Americans. There have been survivors of this massacre. And in doing so, these survivors have also contended that they deserve reparations for the massacre that they survived. And I'm choosing my words very carefully because I don't want some white supremacist or white supremacist adjacent person that looks like me to come in the comments and say, well, you weren't there, so you can't make a claim. These people weren't there. And the crazy part about it is they still got denied what was owed to them. I want to make this abundantly clear. If you harm someone, it is basically the universal law that you repair what you have broken or what you allow to be broken. You repair that. And therefore, there was supposed to have been repair for these folks in the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But it never happened. And so now we have the oldest living survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre has recently passed. So I want to go over some of her memory of what happened. Uh-oh. So let's do this. Make sure I get here. And I want you guys to see what Miss Viola Fletcher, also affectionately known as Mama Fletcher, has said about this. And Hughes Van Ellis as well. I'm going to play some of what he said as well. But these are some of the oldest living people who have survived Tulsa, Oklahoma. And by the way, before I begin this, I just want to say this happened in 1921. That was 104 years ago. They were kids. So they never got reparations. The reparations were never given to their parents or their grandparents. And so it was never given to them. And this happened 104 years ago. Viola Fletcher was 111 when she passed. 111. Let's get into this. because I want to remind people how important this event was. Let's get into it.
And I'm vaccinated. I have agreed to take off my mask so that you can see my mouth.
Yes.
So I want to thank you. No problem. No, happy to do it.
Yeah.
We want to talk about the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Yes, yes.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of people who don't even know what happened that day.
That's right.
And we are blessed enough to be in your company for you all to teach us a little bit about what happened. Mother Fletcher, may I ask, what do you remember from that night?
Remember the noise of guns shooting, people running and screaming, and noise from the air like an airplane, and just so many things. It was disturbing, and fires burning and smelling smoke. And then we could hear someone going through the neighborhood that everybody should leave town, that they were killing all the Black people. So, that was frightening.
Okay, so let's stop here. One of the things that she said was that there were planes flying overhead. I'm going to ask us something, and some people may think I'm being out of pocket for this, but it's all right. They'll get over it. What is the difference between what she endured and what the little kids in Palestine are enduring right now? Oh, shit just got real. Oh, now the light's going off, right? And the light bulb's going off in your head right now, right? Because I'm telling you exactly why so many of us Black people have solidarity with people in Palestine. Why? Because we went through it. And we know exactly what it's like. So therefore, this is why we look at Palestinians and be like, baby, I understand. And so a decimation of your people in a city. Let's dispense with all the flowery language. This was ethnic cleansing. They were trying to commit a genocide. Yep. I said the G word. Mm-hmm. All because of what? All because of what? All because of what? Because of who they were. Because of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Greenwood District, if that was an all-white town, would that have happened? Now let's look at Palestine. If Palestine would have been full of Israelis, would it have happened? Now I got your attention. Because here's the crazy part. If we're so willing, and it's right to, want justice for people who are in Palestine, it is equally right to want justice for Black Americans who have endured countless massacres all over this country. Have solidarity with all of them. And this is why we will not stop talking about what's going on in Palestine. And two, don't stop talking about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Do not let this pass after Mama Fletcher's body has been laid to rest. Let's continue on.
So here.
What did your mother tell you about what was happening? How did she explain it to you?
Well, in parts, it's just so much that she said about it, but a few things that I remembered, because we were all frightened very much. That meant everybody was in a hurry to get up and move and leave town, to keep from being injured. So she was saying about how everybody was, I don't know who was doing all of this, but people were getting shot and beaten and just rushed out of their homes, and so many things was happening to everybody that that encourages all of us to follow suit with what they said. Yeah, so to me, I guess, it just kind of stays with you. It's something you don't forget. You think about that all the time. Look like every evening, I kind of have a feeling it's time to run, and no telling what might happen, but I'm sure it won't happen again.
Even today, you have that nervous feeling?
Oh, yes, sure. Oh, yes. I hardly sleep nights, and look like I lost my appetite. I only eat a few times, and it's just always that they don't ever leave your mind, not mine.
That's post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what that is. PTSD. Imagine dealing with PTSD for over 100 years. Over 100 years of dealing with PTSD that was never truly resolved. Still having nightmares about that night. Imagine being a child, being woke up in the middle of the night, bombs being dropped, people being murdered and shot in cold blood around you, all because of what you look like. You see why I intersected it with what's going on in Palestine right now? You see why I did that? Because I want you to get what Black Americans have been going through in this country. Did we ever collectively get counseling and therapy for the collective trauma that we have endured for hundreds of years of collective trauma that has been put down on us, that has been ingrained into us? Have we actually been able to process that? No. Because every single time we try to process it, then guess what? White supremacy strikes again, does something even worse. So yeah, it was the Tulsa Race Massacre. Then it was the massacres and bombings that happened to us during the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s. You also got Emmett Till's death. Then in the 70s, look what they did to a lot of us, especially in the Black Panther Party, when they tried to defend themselves. Then in 1985, the MOVE bombing happened in Philadelphia. That was another race massacre. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it also was another race massacre. Race massacres have been happening even in the 21st century. And we'll be getting into that in a little bit. I'm gonna show you guys when the latest race massacre was, and you guys are gonna be like, "Oh my God, that was a race massacre." Yeah, it keeps happening, and a lot of times our government either looks away or they're the cause of it. Let's continue.
That's something I've been thinking about for the last 100 years.
It's a big year for people in this community to remember what happened. When you think about that night, do you remember seeing Black people killed?
Well, sure. That's who was getting killed. Yes, people was getting killed, and it seemed like they were breaking in people's homes and taking out some of their valuables, or I don't know what you could go off with, but just ramshacking the neighborhood, damaging most everything that the Black people had.
Did
you imagine how many family heirlooms, how many pictures were burned? I'm going to give you a little story about me. So my family on my mother's side, and this is on my, not just my mother's side, but my grandmother's side of the family, they had a house in Chislehurst, New Jersey. And this home, it didn't even have a bathroom. It had an outhouse, right? Had an outhouse, had a farm. And it was this big house where all the family lived. And a lot of the names of, and most Black Americans can attest to this, they probably have something like this in their family too. But all the names of all the family members, even have photos, are always recorded in the family Bible. And then the house, the family home, burned down, including the Bible with it. So a lot of those names, a lot of those photos, a lot of those heirlooms got lost in the fire. So it's out of our memory now, collectively. Now, that was a fire that happened that might have been from a lantern or something spontaneously combusting, what have you. But from what my mother told me, there was no foul play. Now imagine it being done because white supremacists hated you for succeeding. Imagine that. All the memories, all the homes that you could have inherited and have passed down, the generational wealth that could have been passed down is gone. Out. Now, and then some of these heirlooms, maybe somebody's granddaddy done got, and then gave it to the grandmother. And then the grandmother was like, "Ooh, your daddy gave me this ring and I'm passing on down to you so you can use it for an engagement ring or a wedding ring." And then it gets passed down to the next son or daughter, and then the next son or daughter. And next thing you know, that family heirloom that originated with my family is now on the finger of some young white girl who was never originally in her family, but because her great-great-granddaddy decided to steal it from my great-great-granddaddy or some Black person's great-great-granddaddy, now it's theirs. But the great-great-grandmother, either she knew or she didn't know. Oh, we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about it because some of these heirlooms actually came from us. I'm not even getting into the gruesome parts of what they did with our bodies. So let's continue this because this is a lot of what happened.
Do you see Black bodies in the street?
Black bodies in the street. That's right. That's right. It's I mean, if people got injured, I don't know if they were all dead, but they were laying out, you know, not able to get up and move or get out of the way of whatever was happening.
And how old were you, Mother Fletcher, that night?
A little between 6 and 7 years old.
Were you able to take any of your things with you, your dolls?
Well, I don't know about the pets, but our parents gathered up all the children, say I had, and gathered us up to get us out of town. And I don't remember now whether we had any pets or not, but all the children were safely carried away.
And when you think about the way that that night has affected your life, how do you think that night affected the rest of your life?
Oh, it does. I don't know, looked like I didn't get the education I should have had. And, you know, we just kind of sat back and had to start all over again about the parents making a living to raise their children and time to spend in going to school. So many years I didn't go to school a full term, so that I didn't get the education that I should have had, enough to make a decent living, like working and earning a big salary. So
And when your family fled, where did they go?
We left and went to a little town called Claremore, I think. Yeah.
Do you think that the city should recompensate you for what you lost? Do you think the government should pay you back?
Recompensate. Okay, I get it, but why did you walk away from the word reparations? Why walk away from that word? Maybe I'm being a little nitpicky, but it was like she had to think about it like, oh, when do you want to use the word reparations? No, recompensate. Okay. Because recompensate, why shouldn't she just use the word compensate? Why recompensate? Unless you want, say, reparations. Anywho, I'm being nitpicky, but it is what it is, whatever.
You lost. Do you think the government should pay you back for what you lost?
Yes, I do. Not only me, everyone I think that was injured at during that time should receive something, including my family and others. Yes, I think so.
And what would that look like? Does that look like opportunity for your grandkids? Does it look like money?
Yes. And they'll get better educations and better jobs and better living conditions and, so many things now that families can enjoy doing that we can't afford.
What do you think this city would have looked like if the race riot had not happened?
Oh, it would have been beautiful because the street there, speaking of Black Wall Street, everybody was proud of that. It had stores and churches and school. Well, I don't know about I don't think it was a schoolhouse on the street, but they had, everything nice that the neighborhood needed for their family. Yeah.
Mr. Ellis, may I ask?
So let's stop there for a second because I really want to hone in on, she said, what does it look like what they should give you? Now, before she asked that question, Mama Fletcher basically said, oh yeah, she basically said that as far as education goes, she was held back because of that massacre. It wasn't a riot, it was a massacre. Let's call it what it is. And so because of that massacre, she was held back in school. And imagine that happening to a white kid, but now imagine being Black at that time and having to go through that. So the process would have been significantly more difficult. And so because of that, then it affected her being able to have an economic base for her family. The home that she would have inherited is gone. The education she would have gotten to be able to earn money while working, gone. The land that her family probably had, gone. Stolen. Let's be real. Stolen. All of that is gone. And so when the young interviewer says, well, what does that look like? Does that look like opportunity? And you see at the very end, she was about to say money. And Mama Fletcher was like, oh, yes, all of it. Because here's the thing. When it comes to compensating people for what is owed, if I harm you and you sue me, do I have a say in how you spend what I owe you? If somebody owes you $50,000, do they get a say and go, you know what? Instead of giving you $50,000 worth of cash, I thought it would probably be better for me to give you $50,000 worth of food on a food card. Or I gave you $50,000 on a gift certificate at Barnes & Noble. No, 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 and no. You do not get to say what we do with the compensation that we get. You don't. That is another paternalistic, overbearing, obnoxious angle that a lot of people use to say, well, we got to give them something. Okay, so let's determine what they should get and how they should use it. No, 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 no. You lost that privilege when you brought my ancestors here by force. You lost that privilege. You do not have that. Hell, you never even had the privilege because guess what? You should have never had it in the first place to begin with. So my thing is, it's like, wait, how are you going to go, oh, well, we're going to give you schools and we're going to give you land, right? Fine. But you also got to cut the check. It's not cash reparations or it's cash reparations and what? When somebody goes, oh, we're just going to give you guys economic opportunity, like we're just going to give them jobs. Like, no. You owe us money. We ain't got to work for it because you already harmed us. So therefore, what we got to work for is something that is already owed to us. That don't make no damn sense. Do we look like Boo Boo the Fool to you? No, get out of here with that mess. So I hate this narrative that's always done to Black people to infantilize us, to go, oh, well, you guys just need more economic opportunity. As if we didn't try in 1921 to do it, and yet y'all firebombed our neighborhoods. Neighborhoods in plural, because it wasn't just Tulsa, it was many other ones. Many other ones. And so here's my thing. When people talk about, oh, well, you guys just don't know what to do with your money. It's not that we don't know what to do with your money. It's because y'all ancestors, and I'm not talking about all of you, but a lot of y'all ancestors done stole it. So therefore, guess what? You owe it back. You owe it back. Let's just be real about it. Y'all the ones that locked us up. Y'all the ones that created the drug war and created mass incarceration. Y'all the ones that installed the black codes. Y'all the ones that did the redlining. Y'all the ones that instituted segregation. And then you guys wanted separate but equal, but you guys forgot the equal part. So then what? You can't blame us for being placed in a box that you built. You can't blame us for that. And we tried to reshape and redo the box as best as we could, but there's only so much you can do. And my favorite quote is, if a flower doesn't bloom, you change the environment in which the flower grows, not the flower. So guess what? Change the environment, man. Change it, bruh. But the problem is you don't want to change it because then that means if we start growing, we might grow taller than you. We might bloom better than you. It's not about being better or worse. But why should you have to dim our light just to make yours brighter? You want to know why? Because there's a few among you that are sitting at the top that are not just dimming our lights, but they're dimming yours too. And so you feel like you have to dim ours because they're dimming yours. When in reality, you need to stop trying to dim ours and come together with us to burn these motherfuckers down. That's what it is. Racism and white supremacy is holding white people back. It's holding y'all back. Because you cannot have class solidarity with white supremacy. You cannot do it. It is impossible. You know what else is, you know what's possible though? Taking whatever bigotries that you may have on the inside and completely getting rid of them and seeing yourself in us and going, wait a minute. The reason why this country is so terrible is because of the things that we've done to marginalized groups. And if we come together with these marginalized groups and really stand in solidarity with them, we can change things. There it is. So instead of burning our cities down, you guys go, wait, these black people, they're doing pretty good. Why aren't we doing as good? Well, who's at the top? Let's stop blaming the people who don't really have power and let's go after the people who have the power, who don't deserve it, who didn't acquire it fairly, and it needs to be taken from them. Let's get to this gentleman next, because I want to highlight this too. And then I want to share you guys about why Tulsa isn't the only massacre that we need to pay attention to. Let's go.
How do you think your life has been impacted by the massacre?
My life has been impacted like this. I can't sleep at night. I have to have light. I love light. How it impacted me, like when I got old enough to marry and raise a family, that's when, dawned on me so much. It was like you was afraid to ask for a job because you didn't think you'd get a job.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. He said you were afraid to ask for a job because you didn't think you would get it. Imagine that. Imagine being a father trying to help your family out and you can't even do it because you're living in fear, all because you think that they're going to look at you and go, no, we're not going to hire you based on some immutable characteristic.
When I got a job, I had a wife and I raised 7 children, 3 girls and 4 boys. It was hard for me. My wife wasn't able to work. Back in 1943, 42, I got married. And I had my first son. He was a junior. He was born. I went in the United States Army in 1943. 1943, I just had a young son, a baby, and back then, he was drafted into the Army. And when I was...
This was during World War II. 1943, the war didn't end until 1945, y'all. This is during World War II. Not Vietnam, not Korea. This is during World War II against Germany and the Nazis. That's how far back this guy goes.
Drafted into the Army, we had a segregated army, a black army and a white army. And I went through that for 2.5 years. It was terrible. I mean, like a lot of guys got medals for what they did. I went over. I was drafted, and they sent me out of the United States over in Indian Burma and China.
I'd like to go back.
That's what veteran too. let's continue on to this.
To something that you said.
Okay.
You said, sir, that you still have nightmares. And
Yeah.
Mother Fletcher, you said you have trouble sleeping. What are those nightmares about? What do you dream of?
I dream of what my sister told me. I dream of all of what happened back in there. I wake up about 4 times a night. And some nights I'll say woke say 30, 40 minutes so I can lay back down. It sticks in my mind. And then like I went to service and same thing. I took my life, I put my life on the line for my country. And I was just looking to survive that. Just lucky.
Lucky.
And back in those days, black people, even in the, when I raised my family, we worked for like, you work 10 hours a day for $1, maybe 12 hours a day.
It wasn't fair.
Wasn't fair.
It wasn't fair.
I didn't get a chance to I only got a chance to get a 12th grade diploma. That's after I got out. I didn't get no chance to go to no college. I had to work.
So this affected you for years.
It affected me. A person never forget that. It's not been easy. I'm 100 years old past. We're looking for justice. I think we should have justice for all of this.
Right.
It's just so terrible. See, we have built the United States. The black people did. We don't get no credit for that.
I want his words to sit with you. And if you're feeling something good, if you're feeling some type of remorse, grief, anger, good. That means there's a heart there. And so I wanted to bring in the human element because we could talk about these things from an academic standpoint, 30,000 feet in the air and say, oh, this is what happened. This is how many people died. This is how much wealth was taken. This is the time of, day and year it was, blah, blah, blah. And basically be like a scientist looking, from behind a glass. But no, we have to be brought down to the level so that we can see with our eyes the pain and the anger and the fear and just the harm that was done to all these poor people. And the only sin that they committed was being born black. That was the sin that they committed. Something that they could not even control. You know why Black Americans are so proud to be black? Because for years, we were told it was a stain. In reality, it was our blessing. But we were lied to. And we were told to believe that lie. And we rejected it. Let's go into the massacres that have happened on top of this. Because a lot of times people go, well, that was one, but that's not the only one. I want to get into this. make sure I have it here. Okay. So these are the black massacres that have happened. And I'm sure some of you have seen this a lot of times. I wish I had a more clearer picture, but this is the best I could do. But here you have, look at this. 1919, Chicago. Detroit, 1943. New York, 1863. Washington, 1919. Philadelphia, 1985, 40 years ago. Springfield in Ohio. I'm sorry, Springfield, Illinois. My bad. 1908. East St. Louis, 1917. Tulsa, what we just talked about, 1921. Memphis, 1866. Elaine, 1919. Wilmington, 1898. Atlanta, 1906. Clinton, 1875. Vicksburg, 1874. Slocum, 1910. Colfax, 1873. Opelousas, 1868. Thibodaux, 1887. New Orleans, 1866. St. Bernard Parish, 1868. Rosewood, here in Florida, 1923. Ocoee, which is just a couple of miles from me, in 1920, before the Tulsa Race Massacre. Camilla in 1868. Eutalia in 1874. And in Charleston in 2015. Charleston, 2015. Yes, that was also a race massacre. They still happen. Still. They keep happening. And so when we talk about what has been going on, I think this is why this needs to be continuously remembered. Because we cannot allow this to go away. Let's take a look at this. This is white supremacist massacres. The latest one was in 2022, the Buffalo Massacre. Says after posting a racist manifesto online before targeting a majority black neighborhood, a white supremacist killed 10 people at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. Y'all remember that? Because a lot of us reported on it. Yes, that was a race massacre. Let's go here. Of course, as we said, June 17, 2015, the Charleston Church Massacre, Orangeburg Massacre in 1968. In December 29, 1923, terror on African Americans at Catcher, Arkansas. January 1st, 1923, Rosewood. They actually made a movie about this. May 31st, 1921, the Tulsa Massacre. The Ocoee Massacre says more than 50 African Americans killed in the Ocoee Massacre after going to vote in Florida. Bogalusa Labor Massacre, an attack on interracial solidarity. That was in Louisiana. So I'm going to share this in the chat for you guys, but these are the massacres against Black people that have happened going all the way to 2022. And people say, oh my God, that was so long ago. My great nephew was born in 2022. He's still a toddler. And so I want to shout out to Phil Lewis for this. He said, Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, has died. So that was her when she was younger. It says, today our city mourns the loss of Mother Fletcher, a survivor of one of the darkest chapters in our city's history. Mother Fletcher endured more than anyone should. Yes, she spent her life lighting a path forward with purpose. That was from the Tulsa mayor, Monroe Nichols. She was born on May 10th, 1914. My great-grandmother was born in 1912. My great-grandmother was 2 years older than her. Was only 7 years old when a racist mob destroyed Greenwood, a prosperous black neighborhood in Tulsa known as Black Wall Street. In June 2024, the Oklahoma Supreme Court dismissed a lawsuit brought on by Mother Fletcher and Leslie Benningfield Randall, seeking reparations for the vicious attack. Randall, the last known living survivor in the 1921 Race Massacre, celebrated her 111th birthday on November 10th. Hugh Van Ellis, Fletcher's brother, died at 102 years old in 2023. So, rest in power to Mama Fletcher. The fight will continue. It will continue on because liberation has to exist for all of us that are oppressed around the world. We continue to fight for Black Americans in places like Tulsa, Rosewood, Baltimore, Ocoee, Chicago, but we also fight for our brothers and sisters and siblings in the diaspora in places like Haiti, Congo, and Sudan, and as well as to our beautiful, big-hearted cousins in places like Palestine and occupied Gaza, as well as in other parts of the world that are continuously being oppressed as we speak. Because nobody is free until we're all free. But ultimately, do not stop talking about any one of these atrocities. Keep them all in your hearts and keep speaking about them. And keep that fight up, because we need a future that is dignified. We need a future that Mama Fletcher would be proud of. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate this. Go ahead and give a like to the stream. Before I continue, I will have a couple of house cleaning things to get to, but I just wanted to make sure, and I also wanted to give a shout out to the patrons on Patreon as well. And so we're going to do that first. All right. So we're going to do a shout out to the patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this work. Here are the tiers that we have him here. And yes, I meant to rhyme that. Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters. And then we have Comrades, Solidarity, and JB members. And thank you to all new members. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this work. You guys make this absolutely possible. Thank you so very much for that. Also, my channel is demonetized, so if you'd like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal in the descriptions down below. Now, I want to get into this because I think this is very important, and I want to highlight some mutual aid that needs to happen. This is a call to action for anybody that's watching who wants to help people who are in need. So one of my closest and longest friends is going through some trouble right now. He is working. He's also trying to go back to school to be a nurse. And financially, you know, as we all know, in this country, it is hitting us very hard. And so I want to make sure that he gets the help that he needs. And so this is my friend Chris. He actually has a GoFundMe. It says help Christopher Anderson with school journey. So he is trying to go into school. He says, hello, beautiful souls. Not many know, but I had decided to enroll into school to further my education as a registered nurse in an effort for self-improvement and to help every person in their need with medical and social service education, advocacy, and healing. I currently engage in community volunteer work with the homeless population and work full-time at a modest job, now adding school full-time. And I don't have much time, energy, or resources for myself, and my current financial obligations are seemingly insurmountable. Sounds like all of us, doesn't it? The journey is intense and trying to balance it all, but I'm overwhelmed at seeing others suffer from the plague of addiction, health crisis, homelessness, and violence, as many turn to hospitals as a last resort due to their inability to find proper resources and support. For these reasons, I am passionate about the profession of a registered nurse as they bridge the gap between social services and healthcare and treatment. This journey is a 2 to 3 year commitment, and a majority of the tuition will be out of pocket due to certain factors that limited my financial aid. I'm humbly seeking assistance to help with a fraction of the tuition and school-related cost. I have been identified by friends and strangers as a generous, compassionate, and kind person who tries to help all with no conditions and attached, and I feel that these qualities needed in this field. He's absolutely right. He has been there for me countless times, by the way. I am asking for compassionate support to continue in my path to school and volunteering without jeopardizing my job and have some sense of financial stability. I'll use all my contributions for school curriculum and material costs, as well as offset some of my financial debts that I just can't get out of from underneath. I have a 16-year-old son who needs a well-rounded father, and I truly want to be of service to this broken system so that many are trying to escape. So achieving my medical degree means everything. Anything will help, no matter the size of the contribution. I thank everyone who reads this and moved to their heart to help someone who's trying to do the right thing and continue to evolve as a human. Much love to all, and may we all help each other when and where we can. Do everything I wish to be in a steady and stable position, to no longer pour out of an empty cup, but to give out of an abundance to those who have more need than myself. This GoFundMe is ultimately for you, the beautiful people of this world who feel unheard and unseen. So this is my friend Chris. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Deeply compassionate, beautiful soul. And we have been friends, gosh, over 20 years. We've been friends. So please, if you guys can, share. And if you guys have enough to donate, it is deeply appreciated for this mutual aid. He is desperately trying to do not just community work, but also become a registered nurse. And you guys know how I feel about nurses. Boy, I love nurses. And so, just do the best you guys possibly can. The link is in the chat, and I will also put the link in the description down below as well, so that you guys are able to go there once the live stream is done. And so I appreciate you guys with that. Hang on. I just want to make sure I have that up there. All right. So it's linked in the description down below if you guys would like to. And thank you so very much to everybody who contributed so far. I hope he exceeds his goal 10 times over. So thank you very much for that. Now, let's get into the comments in the chat. And we shall go through it very quickly because I want to make sure I am on time. All righty. Yes. KD says it was a gift from a friend. Yes. And that friend is a beautiful, beautiful soul. I'm telling you right now, whew, I am grateful for that friend. Been there for me more times than you can imagine. That friend, as well as Katie, I'm telling you, man, beautiful people. Becky says, Uhuru or Marjorie Taylor brings us understanding of colonialism as a model of production. African People's Socialist Party advances theory and practice for Black power. Oh yes, I need to get Chairman Omali Yeshitela back on. In fact, thank you very much to Becky. Yeah, I would love to get him back on because I think it's an understatement to say he's wise. He's a brilliant person, brilliant person, and I need to get him back on. Not I want to, I need to. But yeah. Hemcar on the Rumble side, list of government studies proving vaccines. I gotta be careful with that one. I gotta be careful what I say on here. Let me see. Hemcar says if you can someone for stealing a $100 TV, what does that mean? Victims of Tulsa are eligible for. You got it, Hemcar. You understand. All right. Jacqueline says the last survivor of the Tulsa Massacre must have lived to a great age to be old enough at the time of the massacre to remember it 104 years later. The technological changes she must have witnessed. Yep. From horse-drawn carriages to now, we're about to emerge on flying cars. It's crazy. We got Myra Page coming in saying, hi, everyone. Hey, Myra. Katie Lewis says, what's crazy that reparations aren't just owed for the Tulsa Massacre. The construction of Interstate 244 also halted Greenwood from being able to rebuild itself. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about how this eminent domain has also hindered economic progress for Black folks? How the building of I-4, Interstate 4 here in Florida has gone through Black neighborhoods? Or can we talk about the 408, the expressway, and how that has been built through Black neighborhoods around downtown Orlando? Can we talk about the soccer stadium that was built in the Black area of downtown Orlando that we can't even afford to go to? Or can we talk about Camping World Stadium, which is in the most economically disadvantaged area of Orlando that hosts concerts and festivals that we can't even afford to go to? Can we talk about it? Can we? Oh my goodness. Thank you very much for that. Kat says, hey Kat, read about Tulsa Massacre in From Here to Equality. Lots of good history in that book. Yes, that book is from Dr. Sandy Darity, William Darity. If you guys, I want to get that. That's another book I want to get. Now I'm thinking about it. That's another book I want to get. From Here to Equality from Dr. Darity. Man, I need to see if I'll get him on. I gotta talk to Savvy. Savvy! I need his information. I want to get him on and talk about it. Let me see here. Roger says, yes, a segment of the Eisenhower interstate highway system, specifically I-244, contributed significantly to the second destruction of Tulsa's thriving Black neighborhood, the Greenwood District. Yes, thank you very much for adding to that, Roger. He said, while not the intent of President Eisenhower, who signed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, the construction of interstate through urban corridors often used eminent domain to clear low-income minority neighborhoods. Here's how the highway system impacted Tulsa. Division and isolation. Interstate 244 and US 75 were routed directly through the heart of the Greenwood District in the late 1960s and early 1970s, separating residential areas from the commercial Black Wall Street area. Property seizure, hundreds of Black-owned homes and businesses, mainly rebuilt after the devastating 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, were lost through the government power of eminent domain. Economic decline, the physical barrier, and the resulting displacement led to a depopulation, falling property values, and howling out of the once vibrant commercial and residential areas, ensuring the community never fully recovers its former prosperity. Thank you so very much for that, Roger. That is, yes. And eminent domain is basically the government taking, forcing the sale of land and then taking that land for ownership in order to build infrastructure, for anybody who doesn't know or not from the United States. But yes. Let me do this one more. It says, just found out that the coup in Australia, when they were going to give Aboriginals part of country's resources, the United States and the UK stopped it illegal as it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like why is the United States getting in Aborigines' business? Lordy Lord. And Orion Spectacle says 2 Black Wall Streets burned down. Also Central City, where the Central Park is now. That was called Seneca Village. It was called Seneca Village. This was a Wall Street crash city for years. Yeah. So let's get into the next one. I want to get into this. All right. So we already discussed. Oh, stop what I want. See? Okay. We already discussed the Tulsa Massacre, but the fight still continues. So we will continue that. And rest in power, Mama Fletcher. Let's go into this about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She says, I quit. Baby, let me tell you something. I saw this news and I was just like, I need to talk about this, but I was like, I'm going to bed first. everybody was quick to talk about it. I was like, nah, I'll talk about it on Tuesday. Plus, I was busy over the weekend. Had a conference to attend to. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Marjorie Taylor Greene called it quits. She's not going to be running for re-election. Interesting, right? And I wanted to get into this because while this is happening, Marjorie Taylor Greene essentially is still loyal to Trump, if I can say it. She's still on the Trump train, still wanting to say, you know, President Trump is our guy and, you know, we stand by him, which I say, really? So I want to get into this here. This was last week because here's the problem. Marjorie Taylor Greene is distancing, I can't even talk today, distancing herself from her MAGA contemporaries because a lot of them it's cultish. They're basically worshiping at the feet of Donald Trump, and they do not want to call him out when he's wrong. This is especially during the Epstein case, right? Now there's been calls to release the Epstein files. And as far as the Epstein files are concerned, a lot of people are basically saying, like, no, you guys need to release the Epstein file because you're starting to look very bad. And the more time goes on, the worse the Trump administration and the Republicans start to look. And so people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are like, no, we need to release these files. And also, what has been going on and really, the genocide in Gaza, the 21st century Holocaust that we've been seeing in Gaza, as well as not just Gaza, but also the West Bank and throughout all of occupied Palestine. She's also been speaking out about that. And she's like, wait a minute, why are we getting all this money to Israel? I mean, I thought we were America first. Are we America first or not? And so that has caught the ire of Donald Trump. So much so that Donald Trump had some words to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I'm going to share this because Donald Trump basically turned on her. Even though she is a Trump stan, here's what he said.
Greene says her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Greene says her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Okay. This is awkward. So now you have Donald Trump basically calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor, which is completely different than the way he used to treat her back then. He considered her one of the greatest MAGA allies, and now she's considered a traitor because she's trying to apply the America First moniker even more than he is. Technically, I mean, if you really want to be honest with you, she's showing Donald Trump up when it comes to America First. Now, I have many disagreements with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Many. But one thing is for sure. She emphasizes doing for America way more than Trump does. At least rhetorically. Donald Trump, I mean, he's pulling out the chair for Netanyahu, and she might as well be fluffing his pillow and fluffing other things. But my thing is, like, why in the world is he so... Why is he such a coward when it comes to actually saying no to another foreign government that is already getting billions of dollars from us every single year, and while your country suffers? Why are we doing that? So, of course, that was something that Donald Trump has done, and of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene takes a huge issue with that. But on top of that, I want to share this, what Donald Trump has said on Truth Social, his copycat Twitter. And so here we go. This is from Jim Acosta. Donald Trump says Marjorie Taylor Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. That, like, there is a civil war going on in MAGA. MAGA land is not all is quiet on the Western Front. And so because of this, Marjorie Taylor Greene is now decided to exit stage left or right. But I think it's important to note that as far as she's concerned, I think she's now saying, well, you know what? It's time to go. It's time for me to cut my losses. So I want to get into her resignation video. And I'm not going to watch the entire thing because, number one, I ain't got time to read to listen to all that. Number two, I don't feel like hearing her go on and on for that long. So let me make sure I'm at the right timestamp. Okay, we're close to it. Yeah, okay. And then we shall go over this as well. So here is Marjorie Taylor Greene and her resignation video. Let's start here.
Is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States.
Oh, suck it now. It's about to get rough up in here.
And threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged, because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God, who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention, in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold.
Wait. She says she doesn't think Congress should be an assisted living facility. Oh, Lord. I'm sorry, it's funny because that's exactly what it's literally what it is. Oh my gosh, Washington, D.C., AKA Shady Acres Retirement Home. That's just basically what it is now. My goodness. Like, and here's the thing. I respect my elders, right? And it's because of that. Why would I subject them to the rigors of dealing with running this country? Also, on top of that, why a lot of these people, they do not go by the philosophy of planting a tree whose fruit you shall never partake of, right? They're more focused on getting all the fruit off the tree that's there already and leaving none for the future generations. That's ultimately what it's about. So, yeah, I mean, she has a point there in some ways. All right, sorry. That was just funny to me.
Assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never, ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country. And instead, the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington.
Well. It didn't take Marjorie Taylor Greene. It didn't take me to say it. Marjorie Taylor Greene done said it. What did we say about number one, the duopoly? Number two, the more important thing to do is we didn't say vote. We said for you guys to go out in these streets, do mutual aid, and build dual power, in which we are trying to be an example of. And then we also tried to teach you guys how to do it. What did Marjorie Taylor Greene just say? She saw this, how the sausage was made, and she was like, yeah, you're not going to vote your way out of this. She just told you, you're not going to vote your way out of this, baby. A sitting congresswoman just said it. She just said, all right, I'm going to give y'all the goods. Okay, this is what's up. There's no voting us out of this. So when the Democrats say don't boo vote, right, it's because they know that they can rig something like that in order to keep you in the same position. They can't rig properly building dual power and doing mutual aid. Now they can infiltrate, but we've gotten better at sniffing them out. Do they still try it? Of course. But the more powerful thing is doing mutual aid. And you know the quote is, if voting didn't work, then they would be trying, they're always trying to rig voting. If it didn't work, then they would, try to make it. If it didn't work, then they would basically try to rig it so that they would be trying to make it almost illegal, right? Something to that effect. Anyways, even more than rigging and gerrymandering, right? You know who gets more force than people who are trying to vote our way out of this? You know who gets fought against more than that? People who do mutual aid and build dual power. I want you to open your eyes, right? I was about to sound like the ancient one from Doctor Strange. Open your eye. Anyway, so here's the thing. Think about Cop City in Atlanta, right? Where you got people that were trying to build dual power, who are doing direct action. We lost Tortuguita over trying to protect the forests around from them building Cop City. Think about the Black Panther Party. How many people were jailed, killed, imprisoned over trying to push for a brand new system to create a new government that they actually wanted to see? How threatening were they? Were they just talking about, oh, just voting? If they were talking about just voting, they probably wouldn't have gotten messed with as much. But what made them dangerous? They were doing mutual aid and building dual power. And basically, what's left? What is left? And I'm going to be talking about this more in the next segment. But what is left to be done? Now, here's how I look at it. Stay with me here. You're making a cake, right? And as you're making a cake, you have your flour, your sugar, your baking powder, baking soda, you got your eggs, then you got your vanilla extract or cocoa powder, whichever one you want, or you have your lemon extract. You know, you could be making a lemon cake, whatever, right? And then on top of that, if I were making a cake and if I took the cocoa powder or the vanilla extract and I left it out, could I still make a cake with everything else? Yes, I could. It would be flavorless, but I could still do it. Now, let's switch it for, let's say I kept the cocoa powder or the vanilla extract, but I made the cake and I didn't use any flour. Would I still be able to make a cake? Your flour is the mutual aid in building dual power. Your flavoring, which is the cocoa powder or the lemon extract or the vanilla extract, what have you, that's the voting. It could be used as a tool, but it's not your primary tool. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene is basically saying this is how the sausage is made. There's no voting our way out of this. She told y'all. So if she knows this, you know everybody else does too. Absolutely. Let's finish this up.
Then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
Now, I also find it convenient that she's doing this now. I'm going to tell you why. Let me share something with you. It says, Congress member get pension after 5 years. AI says, yes, a member of Congress is vested in the federal employees retirement system pension plan after 5 years of service, meaning they are legally entitled to a future pension benefit. However, this pension is generally not to be received immediately upon separation unless certain age and service requirements are met. Otherwise, it is a deferred pension. So it says most members elected since 1984 are covered by FERS, which has specific age and service combinations of receiving benefits. Deferred full pension. A former member with at least 5 years of federal service is eligible for a full pension at age 62. Immediate or full pension, various options. Age 62 or older with at least 5 years of federal service. Age 50 or older with at least 20 years of service. At any age with at least 25 years of service. Members with less than 5-year requirement are not entitled to a FRS annuity based on their congressional service alone, but may qualify if they combine with other previous federal employment. So I thought that to be interesting. But as far as Marjorie Taylor Greene is concerned, like, I just see, what happens. And honestly, it's like, okay, what is your next step? Right? That's my question. Like, what is her next step? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene also said this. Says House Republicans totally sidelined by Johnson's under full obedience of White House. So let me see here. Why is this? Wait, this video. I hate when these videos automatically play and then you can't. Okay. Says Marjorie Taylor Greene said Monday that House Republicans have been sidelined by Speaker Mike Johnson, accusing the Republican leader of only obeying to the Trump administration. So she said on X, Greene wrote that she and other House Republicans came courageously roaring into 2025 with legislation that matched the 2024 electoral mandate, only to be sidelined by Johnson under full obedience of the White House. Executive orders are temporary. QAnon memes have not obliterated the deep state, and my colleagues constantly trying to pass loyalty tests instead of demanding what's right won't help Americans pay their rent or stop corporations from buying up homes, buy their groceries, provide good paying jobs, and stop foreigners with visas from stealing their jobs, stop American tax dollars from funding foreign wars and causes, or rebuild the value of the dollar. So it says passing effective legislation that gets signed into law is permanent and actually solves Americans' problems. Greene warned that as lawmakers are switching gears into campaign mode and will be fighting for their lives, our legislative majority has been mostly wasted. She claimed that the uniparty always wins, leaving the American people empty-handed. She said, "What tangible thing have you done for me, and how did it or will it make my life any better?" So, yes, it talks about how she resigned after being called basically a traitor by Donald Trump. And says Greene was increasingly at odds with Trump and Johnson in recent weeks. During the government shutdown, she lambasted Johnson for not providing GOP lawmakers with an alternative to the Affordable Care Act. And by the way, here's the thing about the Affordable Care Act that a lot of people may not be aware of, but the Affordable Care Act is actually a right-wing health care bill. It's a right-wing Republican healthcare plan. It was formed by the Heritage Foundation. The same Heritage Foundation that created Project 2025. Yep, it's that same one. And so it was a Heritage Foundation idea that was implemented first by Mitt Romney and then was borrowed by Barack Obama. So no wonder why the ACA, aka Obamacare, was such a disaster. Because it wasn't really universal health care. It was just a big corporate giveaway to the health insurance lobby. Health insurance corporations made a killing, both literally and figuratively. It says she was one of 4 Republicans to side with Democrats in forcing the House to vote on requiring the Department of Justice to release all its files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Johnson said the Epstein case was the Democrats' entire game plan, while Trump called it a hoax. Johnson voted for the bill, and Trump later signed it into law. Greene's impending exit from Congress could impact Johnson's legislative plans going into January. The GOP's current 219 to 213 majority means he can afford to lose 2 Republican votes on any legislation as long as all members are present and the Democrats are unified in opposition. Johnson will need to pass non-appropriations bills or a short-term stopgap measure by January 30th to keep the government running and avoid another shutdown. So essentially, Donald Trump basically has the House Republicans by the throat and by other things. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, deuces, I'm out. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and this may sound crazy to some, but and maybe I'm giving her a little too much credit. Maybe I'm being too kind, but feels like she has more principles than somebody like an AOC. Like, for all the disagreements I have with her, it's like, but at least she has the guts, the intestinal fortitude to say, you know what, I'm out. Right? I got to give her that. But yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's out. Who replaces her is yet to be seen, but I know for a fact that it is about to get wild in 2026. Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. All right, go ahead and give a like to the stream. All right, let's get into the rest of the chat. I forgot to check to see if I have any Rumble rants. Let me check there. Looks like all right, looks like we are good. No Rumble rants right now. Good there. Let's check to see if we have any gifted subs on Kick. We are good on the Kick side. All right. All right, let's get into this. Jacqueline says the cake wouldn't be flavorless without lemon, vanilla, or chocolate. You still have the sweetness from the sugar. We still got the sweetness. Sean Miller says 95% mutual aid and direct action, 5% electoralism. Basically, Justice by Karma says, but I do understand dynamics of what's going on, how these things are useful to the left, advancing and expanding our measure of influence and representation. That's probably from something that I didn't read ahead of. But thank you very much for that. Teresa says, we'll just end up stirring the pot for Trump's haters, though. It said Radical Education says if voting changed anything, they wouldn't let you. Yeah. Roger says if it worked, they wouldn't let you do it. Just like how they ended postal banking. I would love to bring back postal banking. Oh my gosh. Imagine not having to go to a corporate bank. You just go get postal banking. Like, that would make doing things so much easier. So much more easier. My goodness. Lady Alex says, I love mint chocolate chip ice cream. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm just not. Now, cookies and cream. Oh, baby. Cookies and cream. Yeah. Okay. Lady Alex says, I call BS Marjorie Taylor Greene. Interesting. Interesting. So you think that she's okay. Katie says, I'd be more than happy if I never saw her in the future. Oh my gosh. Edward says, rumors were circulating that MTG may run for president in 2080. Oh my gosh. Roger says MGT is not running for president. She's running for governor next year. That's probably on the way to run for president, maybe. Yeah. Sean says, girl, bye. Right? Oh my gosh. Justice says, yep, JB, that's in response to MTG resigning and how the left influence played a role. Mm-hmm. You know what's funny though? Because of this whole Trump not releasing the Epstein files, QAnon has got to be in shambles right now. They got to be. Like, I had a friend that I guess got on the QAnon train, and he completely like unfriended me from Facebook and everything. Unfriended me and just like tried to convince me, you know, about QAnon and all that stuff. And meanwhile, I was going beyond Democrats. I was like, no, I'm not even. They're too far right for me. And so, you know, oh my gosh, he was basically like on the Trump train, and he was LGBTQ. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Anyways, but yeah. And I'm like, bro, it's not just Democrats, it's both parties. Oh boy. Kurt Boss says, don't look at the light. Step into the light, Caroline. Step into the light. All right, so Justice by Carmen says, I haven't heard the term QAnon for a while now, except in reference to where MTG originally came from. Yep. He just completely just like said, no, I'm not gonna be friends with you no more. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, but that's how it goes. Now, let's get into the final story that we're going to be getting into. I want to get into this because this one is deeply important. And this one is close to home. This is a tough one, but it's necessary. So we already talked about the fight will continue for Black Americans, especially those of us who are owed reparations for many of the atrocities that have happened to us and that continuously happen to us in this country. But also, we also talked about how Marjorie Taylor Greene just basically said, deuces, I quit. I ain't doing this no more. The hell with all y'all. I ain't back. But now we're going to be talking about an American kid that's held hostage. So we're going to get into this here. American hostage. What should we do? Let's get into this. Imagine your child going on a trip to visit family. They are going to see their cousins, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And then you find out your kid never came home. And in never coming home, you find out that your kid has been abducted by the military. And they're in the military, imprisoned, and your child is being tortured slowly to death. How would you feel? Would you be enraged? I know I would be. Would you be doing everything in your power to get your child back? Absolutely. And this fear has came true for an American family. And so I want to share this story because when we talk about Americans, and we just talked about the prior story about America First and how Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about how we should be America First. This should also apply to American citizens. But unfortunately, some American citizens' lives are seen as expendable versus others, including the lives of children. Let's get into this, because if this doesn't piss you off, I don't know where your heart is. Let's get into this.
Any child belongs with his parents, his mom and his dad.
Florida families demanding the release of a 16-year-old Palestinian American who has been held at an Israeli prison for more than 6 months now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Josh Benson.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Thank you for joining us. While imprisoned, the teen's family says he's being denied food and medical treatment. And on your side, investigator Brittany Mueller joins us now in studio as the family calls on the U.S. government for his release.
Jen and Josh, that's right. 16-year-old Mohammed Ibrahim's family says he's supposed to be getting his driver's license and working a summer job at an ice cream shop in Tampa, but instead he's imprisoned in Israel. While his health is deteriorating, Ibrahim's family is now calling on the Department of State for his release.
Mohammed is the first cousin of Saifullah. Saifullah was killed a month and a half ago.
Family of 20-year-old Saifullah Musalet of Tampa says he was brutally beaten to death last month by...
So remember when I reported on this weeks ago? I reported on this. This guy is related to this little kid. They're related. They're family. Let this radicalize you. This is hitting home. These people, these Americans are also Floridians. They're from my backyard. Oh boy, I'm telling you, y'all gotta wake up. Y'all gotta wake up. Let's continue.
To death last month by Israeli settlers while visiting relatives in the occupied West Bank. Ziad Kadur says his death has devastated their family. Now, his 16-year-old nephew's imprisonment in Israel has them fearful for his life and safety.
They came into the house. They took him out of his bedroom, blindfolded him, handcuffed him. And that was 6 months and 10 days ago. That's the last time anybody seen him that knows him.
Kadur says 25 armed Israeli soldiers broke into Mohammed Ibrahim's family's West Bank home while he was visiting back in February.
The prison that he's in is notorious for torture and suffering. He's getting starved, scabies from his feet to his fingertips.
Now, the Council on American Islamic Relations wrote this letter, which was signed by over 100 other advocacy organizations, calls on Secretary of State Marco Rubio for Ibrahim's release.
This is not politics. This is the life of an American teenager who's being held in an Israeli prison.
8 on Your Side asked the State Department about Ibrahim. A spokesperson shared this statement.
If we become aware of an arrest of any U.S. citizen, including a minor, we will provide consular services, including prison visits, to ensure safety and security and communication with family as appropriate. But Kadir says Ibrahim's parents have had no contact with their son in the past 6 months.
Let's get our boy back to his family, back to his parents.
Care Florida says at last check, more than 300 children are detained in Israeli prisons, with a majority being Palestinian. The organization says the situation goes beyond Mohammed Ibrahim. It's about the rights of all children. In the studio tonight, I'm Brittany.
So this is what's going on. We literally have a child that is being tortured. Let's not use fancy flowery language. Let's call it is what it is. What it is torture. Imagine your kid being tortured by a government that literally gets money from us. And they're being tortured because of who they are, because of their identity. Imagine. What did I just talk about a couple segments back? About people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1921, being massacred because of their identity. Guess what? It is happening as well, still down to this day. And so why in the world are we sitting back and allowing this genocidal government to continuously murder not just the people in the region, but also our very own American citizens? He's being starved to death. Starved. He's not that big. He's a skinny kid. And guess what? He lost a ton of weight. All because they hate him for who he is. I'm going to share this as well. It says, cold cells, meager meals, Palestinian American boy suffers in Israeli jail. Mohammed Ibrahim, who is 16 years old, has described inhumane conditions in Israeli detention as rights advocates call for his release. This is the boy. So, it says, Defense for Children International Palestine has obtained testimony from Palestinian American teenager Mohammed Ibrahim, whose case has just become a symbol for the mainstream of mistreatment of minors in Israeli jails. In an interview with DCIP lawyer published on Tuesday, 16-year-old Mohammed described the harsh conditions he has faced since his detention began in February. We're in November. We are in November. This took place in February. It will be a year in 2-3 months. So that's how long he's been there, guys. He's been there since February. Imagine being his parents right now. Imagine. Crazy. This is ridiculous. This is horrible. It says, including a thin mattress, cold cells, and meager meals. He says the meals we receive are extremely insufficient. He said, for breakfast, we are served just 3 tiny pieces of bread, along with a mere spoonful of labneh. At lunch, our portion is minimal, consisting of only half of a small cup of undercooked dry rice and a single sausage and 3 small pieces of bread. Dinner is not provided and we receive no fruit whatsoever. According to DCIP, Mohammed has lost a considerable amount of weight since his detention started more than 8 months ago. He was 15 years old at the time. So he was detained at 15 and he's now 16. Mohammed's family, rights groups, and the U.S. lawmakers have been pleading with the administration of the United States President Donald Trump to pressure Israel to release the teenager. The U.S. provided Israel with more than $21 billion over the past 2 years. Not even an American passport can protect Palestinian children. Despite his family's advocacy in Congress and involvement in the U.S. Embassy, Mohammed remains in an Israeli prison. Israel is the only country in the world that systematically prosecutes children in military court. Imagine being a child that is prosecuted in a military tribunal. Children. We're not talking about adults. Children. Now, let's continue. After Israeli soldiers raided Mohammed's family home in the occupied West Bank in February, they took the teenager into custody. Mohammed recalled to DCIP that the soldiers beat him with the butts of rifles as they transported him. The teenager was originally housed in a notorious Megiddo prison, which recently released Palestinian detainee described as a slaughterhouse before being transferred to Offer, another detention facility. Each prisoner receives 2 blankets, yet we still feel cold at night. There's no heating or cooling system in the rooms. The only items present are mattress, blankets, and a single copy of the Quran in each room. The teenager has been charged with throwing stones at Israeli settlers, an accusation that he denies. Legal experts say that Palestinians from the occupied West Bank almost never receive fair trials in Israeli military courts. I'm going to say this. Oh, boo-hoo! Oh, he was throwing rocks. Boo-hoo! He threw a few rocks or pebbles at you. And here's the crazy part. Here's the wild part, right? All that over, let's say hypothetically he did. Hypothetically, let's say he did. Does this warrant over 9 months in an Israeli prison while being tortured to death? And he even denies that he did it. So, why in the world is the United States moving so freakishly slow to get this kid back? You want to know why? Because the United States does not give a damn about him. You think the United States actually cares about Americans? Look at the natives. Look at what they did to them. Look at us black Americans. Look at what they did to us. You think they're going to give a damn about Palestinian Americans? Hell no. This is the problem with this country. This is the problem with this system. I bet you if he was not Palestinian and if he was rich, oh, he would have been home a lot sooner. It's not just an identity issue. It's also a class issue too. It's both. And this is why liberation for Palestine is also deeply important. He was there just to visit family. Just to visit family. He was supposed to have been home by now. This isn't Gaza. This isn't Gaza. This is the West Bank. By the way, the Palestinian resistance is not in the West Bank. Hamas isn't in the West Bank. So what's their excuse? What's their excuse now? And how many times are we going to have to go over this? And occupied people have the right to resist their oppressors. And even then, he gets accused of a crime he didn't even commit. And to be honest with you, by international law, he wasn't even committing a crime. Because him and his people are occupied. And yet the United States, who says they are America first, the Trump administration that says he's America first, does not want to fight to bring an American home. If you think that this country, the government, which is owned by these corporate parasites, actually care about you, your ignorance is as wide and far as the East is from the West. Your ignorance is as deep as the North is from the South. Your ignorance has the density of a neutron star. And so this is why we got to call this stuff out. This should not be happening to a child. It should not be happening to a person, period. But now it's happening to a kid, an American kid. I'm going to defer to some Palestinians who are local to me to also talk about this, because I think they have the weight of their voice, I think, is more important. So let's go here. Shout out to the Florida Palestine Network for the work that they do on the ground. Let's get into this. It says, free Mohammed Ibrahim, urgent call to action. It says, about 8 months ago, Mohammed Ibrahim, a 16-year-old from Palm Bay, Florida, was arbitrarily abducted by occupation forces and sent to the infamous Megiddo prison, where another Palestinian teenager killed in April. Since then, Mohammed was sent to the equally notorious Offer prison. Mohammed's reports indicate that he has been starved, has lost more than 30 pounds, and has developed scabies. Over 100 groups in the U.S. have called on Secretary of State and former Florida Senator Marco Rubio to release Mohammed from Zionist captivity. Genocidal intent, genocide in motion. Israel is the sole country in the world that systematically subjects children to military courts, an imperial system designed to crush the will of a colonized people. Bound in theory by international and U.S. law, Washington has neither the courage nor the desire to help release Mohammed. Instead, it continues to arm the Zionist entity without restraint, fueling the apparatus of genocide that serves its own capitalist interests. It says the American passport will not save you if you are Palestinian. Defense for Our Children International Palestine has reported the deteriorating conditions of Mohammed's health in a recent interview with him. He says, my section consists of 19 rooms, each equipped with 4 bunk beds. Mohammed told DCIP in each room, 8 children occupy the beds, while the remaining children sleep on mattresses on the floor. The mattresses, whether on the beds or on the floor, are extremely light and inadequate. Each prisoner receives 2 blankets, yet we still feel cold at night. There is no heating or cooling system in the rooms. The only items present are mattresses, blankets, and a single copy of the Quran in each room. The meals received are extremely insufficient. For breakfast, we are served just 3 tiny pieces of bread along with a mere spoonful of labneh. At lunch, our portion is minimal, consisting only of a half small cup of undercooked dry rice, a single sausage, and 3 small pieces of bread. Dinner is not provided, and we receive no fruit whatsoever. Occasionally, we might get a small cucumber and a tiny tomato with some meals, but this is not guaranteed. There are no desserts of any kind. We only receive a small spoonful of jam every 2 or 3 days. Sometimes we are offered only light tea, which tastes more like hot water and is served without sugar. In terms of hygiene and bathing, we are permitted to go outside to the yard once a day around 9 a.m. for a duration of 40 minutes. Prisoners from every 3 rooms are allowed to go out simultaneously. This time is meant for showering, but there are only 6 showers available, meaning not all prisoners can utilize this time for a shower. When we do shower, we have access to shampoo, but it lacks foam and fragrance. Each month, we shave our heads down to zero with a razor, but shaving our beard is prohibited. And they say every Palestinian life is precious. This arrives at no surprise as the occupation continues to violently keep the Palestinian political prisoners from returning home. In the occupants' prisons, Palestinians are exposed to constant torture. They are almost constantly held in inhumane conditions, constant beatings, malnutrition, medical neglect, and isolation. Many have been held for decades. And the fight to free them all continues. So, demand Senator Marco Rubio release Mohammed, Zahir, Ibrahim. And so, this is why we are talking about this. Because none of us are free until we're all free. And the fact is that this child being treated like this in inhumane conditions while we pontificate about whether we continue giving money to Israel or not. It's like, no, like the Palestinian people need liberation now. They need liberation not just now, not just yesterday, not just last year. Palestinians need liberation 77 years ago. And so this is why it is so important for us to continue to discuss this. Now, I want to share this as well. I'm going to do something, and I want you guys to get ready to take a screenshot. Okay? Because, of course, I can't completely send this. But this was shared to me by CARE. Was the Council of Arab and Islamic Relations, I think is called. So here is I don't know if it's actually going to, I don't know if it's going to do the QR code correctly because I am kind of backwards, but hopefully if you guys can screenshot, maybe it will do it. I don't know. I wonder if I can switch my camera around. Let me see. Okay, boom, there we go. All right, guys. So screenshot and then get that QR code, right? And what the QR code does is that it transports you to basically a message. Maybe I should keep it like this. I'll keep it like that. What it's going to do is it's going to take you to a message that is pre-written. Now you can edit the message, and then it also lists like all of the people in Congress, all the political representatives, that that you can contact within your area, and it sends it to all of them. Will it work? We have to at least try. And there is someone that has been trying for months now, and a lot of people are giving her praise. Now, I think that this is the bare minimum. I think we should be doing more. And I'm going to talk about what more looks like. But a lot of people are saying this. And I'll tell you why, to me, this is the bare minimum. And we'll go over that in a minute. But let's share this.
Okay, now Gillibrand. And then
So let me shrink this down just for a second. The caption says, "My sister home from Thanksgiving with her kids secretly recorded my mom making her daily calls to Senator Gillibrand, Senator Schumer, and Representative Latimer, demanded that they work to free Mohammed and save al-Kir while she was supposed to be watching her grandkids." Okay. So, and I'll tell you guys why I think this is the minimum.
Latimer. What? Yes. Yeah, hi. I'm glad to get somebody. My name is, and just for context, I'm a 76-year-old Jewish grandmother, a lifelong New Yorker, and a lifelong Democrat. I have voted for Senator Gillibrand for every election she's been in, including when she was pregnant. So I have two questions. One, which you should have, because I've been calling every single day for a month trying to get an answer, which I think it's kind of difficult for a constituent not to be able to get an answer from her own senator. So the first question is why she didn't sign on to the letter of October 21st from Congress that went out to Marco Rubio and Mike Huckabee asking for the release of the American teenager, Mohammed, Mohammed, Ibrahim, Ibrahim, who's been held incommunicado without any contact with his family since last February when he was abducted by the IDF. This is a child who's in an Israeli torture camp. There's evidence he's been beaten. He's lost a quarter of his body weight. I'd like Senator Gillibrand to imagine if this were her child, what she would want done in a foreign prison. And the second is why she didn't sign on to the November 6th letter that went out to Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him to rescind the demolition orders for this small little village, Keir, and why she sees fit not to comment on any of this when we give billions of dollars to Israel every year. So I'd like the answer to those two questions. I know you can't, and nobody has been able to for a month. How long does it take to get an answer? Right. I thought she was in favor of all hostages being released. Well, this is an American hostage who has not been released.
Release the hostages. Oh my God, they won't release the hostages. But when the hostage is an American and the perpetrator is Israel, they don't care about the hostages. You see, right? Let's let the lady continue.
Chris Van Hollen recently issued a public statement about it. How come Chris Van Hollen can speak out but my senator, who I have voted for in every election, cannot speak out. If she needs any information, she can look at Chris Van Hollen's statement. I don't think it's really a stretch to ask a country that we give billions of dollars to let go an American citizen, an American teenager. Okay, thank you. And I'll call again tomorrow in case I haven't heard. Thank you. Bye.
How often does that happen?
Does what happen?
You get a person?
Gillibrand's office? You gonna stain our floors? Gillibrand's office, almost never. I think this is the third time ever. I have to clean this too. All right, I have one more call to make. Latimer.
All right.
So that's Kirsten Gillibrand, right? She obviously doesn't care about an American citizen, and she's a Democrat. So you have the Republicans and the Democrats not caring about American citizens. Now I'm gonna share something with you, and I'm gonna say this is why this is the bare minimum, what she did. First of all, I'm gonna share this because I'm gonna have to push back against somebody who's well known in independent media, because I think that she's being given more credit than what she's due. Miss Crystal Ball, you said this. This is genuinely inspiring. What a force. Miss Crystal Ball, this is the bare minimum. This is not an inspiring force that you think it is. The call your congressperson is not the flex. It is the bare minimum that you could do. And does it work? I mean, it's been since February. He's been in there since February. And he has an American passport. He's a United States citizen. If he's 16 years old, most likely he was born here. So therefore, he may be the child of immigrants, maybe, but he's not, most likely not an immigrant at all. So with that being said, if we're really about America first, and yet the calls aren't being answered, they're not being replied to, no actions being done to protect and get home an American citizen that is a minor, that is a little boy, then is this really the earth-shaking thing that you say on Twitter that it is? Miss Crystal Ball, I think you are sadly mistaken, and I have to say, I think you're being a little bit hyperbolic in your praise. I think you're being a little too... I think you're praising this a little too much, because this really should be the bare minimum. Let me show you why. Because there's a law professor that I follow on TikTok that talks about this. And I want you to listen to what she says. Because this law professor actually gives you the real deal Holyfield of what, call you're a congressperson, how effective it really is. I'm going to let this sister cook.
Representatives. We don't have a functioning government. I am not sure why this is not sunk in yet for so many of y'all. We do not have a functioning government. I am an attorney who also happens to be a law professor. That means I am in conversation regularly with some of the brightest legal minds in the country. I happen to work at a law school that's ranked in the top 10% of all the law schools in the country. When I say some of the brightest legal minds, I'm talking about some of the leaders of their field. And can I tell you what the widespread consensus is among people who study, teach, and prepare the next generation of lawyers who write the...
So she listed the credentials because guess what? That's what we Black people have to do. Before we make a statement, we have to list our credentials just so that people will listen to us. This is why I dress up on camera so that people will take me seriously. Because if I didn't, a lot of people wouldn't take me seriously. That's something that we Black people have to go through, especially a lot of us Black people in this space. Just talk to Savvy Savs. Why did she have to dress up in blouses and stuff? Why? Because she's a Black woman. And guess what? If she dressed up just in a t-shirt, then guess what? People wouldn't listen to her. If I came up in here in just a regular t-shirt, people wouldn't really listen to me. But if I were white, then guess what? They wouldn't pay much attention to what I'm saying. All right, so let's get into this. Sister, cook. Sister girl, go ahead and cook. All right.
Their field. And can I tell you what the widespread consensus is among people who study, teach, and prepare the next generation of lawyers who write the scholarship that shapes the law? The general consensus among all of my colleagues is that the Supreme Court nor Congress are functional checks on executive power. Congress is inoperable. That is why they can send your calls to voicemail. They can direct aides not to respond to your calls or take your messages when you're asking about Gaza, when you're asking about confirmation votes, anything for real. They are inoperable. They are not functioning. Similarly, you know what we say about the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court is afraid to rule against Trump because they do not believe he will follow orders. And because the Supreme Court has neither sword, it cannot raise an army or purse, it does not have the ability to allocate funds, it is premised entirely on legitimacy. Its legitimacy attribution feature and the legitimacy we attribute to it. All it has is legitimacy. The moment Trump doesn't follow one of its orders, that legitimacy, poof. So they refuse to rule in a way that they think will cause him to go against them because it'll be clear, the gig will be up, the wizard will be seen, there won't be a wizard, the curtain will be pulled. You know what the fuck I mean. You get the analogy. Anything you're...
So I want to make that abundantly clear. The United States Supreme Court ain't got no power unless we collectively give it legitimacy. Therefore, the U.S. Supreme Court does not have enforcement powers. It does not have the power of the purse. So therefore, its power is in people who believe it has power. Just like the dollar bill, it only has power if you collectively believe it has power. So once you start to see it doesn't have power, then guess what? It's just a group of people in black robes that just say what they think the law is. And you can choose to either follow it or not. And guess who does that choice? Donald J. Trump. And it can happen with him. It can happen with a Democrat. It can happen with another Republican. It can happen with any president that's in the executive branch. And guess what? If they don't follow it, then guess what? We know the Supreme Court ain't shit. Oh, wait, do you mean to tell me that this country is on its way down? Absolutely. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to sing it to you. This country is going down. It's going down. Because you ain't around, baby. It's all fucked up. Side down. That's basically how it is.
Trying to do that you want to be effective has to contemplate the reality that we do not have a functioning government. This is why all of the discourse around the electoral process and election, like it is delusion. It is the denial phase of grief. That is the stage we are all in collectively as a society. We are in the denial stage of grief. We are not in any form of a functioning democracy. And if we're really honest with ourselves, we haven't been for a long time, even before this man got in office. The reason he was able to get in office and has been able to exploit the levers of power the way that he has, despite having credibly fomented a coup, despite having been convicted of the amount of felonies he has, because we don't have a functioning democracy, right? And so any political engagement that you're going to undertake under the guise of resistance needs to have contemplated the reality that this government is not functioning in any way recognizable. This is why I take issue with so many Black people when they're like, but the ancestors, well, yes, the ancestors were in a completely different context, though. You cannot transplant the tactics and tools that they use mechanically into our context. And what I realize y'all don't be doing with the ancestors for real is y'all don't study the progression. The tactics that were used during Reconstruction wasn't the tactics that was used during the Civil Rights Movement, wasn't the tactics that were used during the Black Power movement. Each time they recognized something new about the government and how it was operating, and they moved differently. During Reconstruction, it was all about meshing into the patriotism, the American narrative, showing ourselves as citizens, showing ourselves as defenders of the Union, etc. When we realized that that wasn't enough to stop this country from betraying us, we engaged in civil disobedience. We took the opposite approach. We took a direct confrontational approach to the law. We challenged it. We revealed its hypocrisies. And then when we realized that wasn't going to be enough, by the end of the Civil Rights Movement, even like mainstays like King had become more radical, in addition to the Black Power movement, which was a more radical movement that was emerging, because we realized that neither our patriotism and compliance nor our civil disobedience and challenging were going to be enough, and they escalated. And that's the movement that they used the most force to quash. And now y'all are trying to transplant those earlier tactics without acknowledging the evolution of those of that struggle, of those dynamics into our present context. No, it's time to evolve further, to use that insight and that hindsight to push past, evolve further, and become more. Similarly, as a democracy, our country is not functional or recognizable. So you trying to use the democratic levers of engagement, calling representatives and lobbying, the denial. This denial phase of grief. Let's move into anger, please. Stop telling people.
So everybody now goes, but JB, what do we do? What is the answer for instead of calling our congressperson? Now, go ahead, call them, contact, write your letter. Do it, please. Fine. Especially for these young people and for political prisoners within the United States, do it. Fine, okay? But here's the point. Do not think that that is the omega and alpha of what you should be doing. Right? That is the alpha. The omega? Oh, baby, we got to do direct action. We got to get out in these streets. And when I say out in these streets, I'm not just talking about building dual power and doing mutual aid. No. I'm saying, are there ships shipping supplies that are delivering missiles and military equipment to Israel? That needs to be stopped, hell or high water. The companies and corporations that are supplying Israel with all types of aid, if you can do it in a peaceful fashion, but just making sure that the stuff is blocked. If you are in some position of power and you know that, hey, I can just like something accidental happens with the supply, I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, maybe that hamburger meat that was supposed to go abroad, maybe it doesn't make it to the ship. You know, maybe there's some grain and some bread, and I don't know, maybe a mouse got into it, maybe a bunch of mice got into it or something. I don't know. But here's the thing. The body of imperialism is hearts in the United States. And it's time for imperialism to experience a cardiac arrest. Because we are trying to prevent more Mohammed Ibrahims from happening. This is the answer. Like I said, do the thing, right? Call your congressperson or, get in contact with them. But let this be the start. Don't let it be the only thing you do. That ain't it. That's not just the beginning. This is putting your shoes on before you go to the gym, baby. Right? This is just setting the plates on the table before you eat. This is pushing unlock on the car keys in order to unlock the car before you even sit in the car before you go. So this is why I said what I said. Because when people say, oh my God, call your congressperson, they don't give you the necessary steps to do afterwards. Because that's what a lot of them, they just want you to do just that and then stop. That's why Obama kept on, don't boo, vote. And for all of our people out there that are Christians, in James chapter 2, it says, just as the body without the spirit is dead, so is faith without works is dead. You have to work in accordance with your faith in order for things to happen. Therefore, you have to work in accordance with your vote to make things happen. Because if they're not going to get it done, then who will? First, you call the congressperson. Then you force their hand. Don't stop with just, please, no. You force the hand. You break the wheel. You stop the cycle. Because nobody should ever have to experience torture, hunger, starvation, thirst, death. Nobody should have to face that. Least of all, a child. And we black people in this country, we know what it's like. This is why I am so adamant about this. Because my people shouldn't go through this. Your people shouldn't go through this. Their people shouldn't be going through this. This is why solidarity is so important. And not just with people like Mohammed Ibrahim. But if there's a Shaniqua Watkins out there, what are we doing for Shaniqua? What are we doing for Dontavius? Let's do it across the board. Ain't nobody free until we're all free. Let's continue. Let's get this kid free. Let's get him back home to his parents, safe and sound. And let's continue the liberation for all groups, including a free Palestine. Go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much, guys. Let's get into the chat. Let me check to see if we have any Rumble rants. Looks like we're good on the Rumble side. All right, good there. Let's check to see if we have any gifted subs. We're good on the Kick side. Okay, perfect. All right, let's go into here. All right. Game, good to see you. All right. Yeah, Lady Alex says dim exit already. Right? You called Kirsten Gillibrand how many times? And like she won't respond back or try to advocate for this kid. That tells you who she is, man. Kurt Boss says the game is easy. It's the sheep who take it seriously, ruining everything that's meaningful by conformity. It says light loves rebellion, not conformity. The wisdom is to embrace the light inside. It's very poetic, Kurt Boss. Thank you. Katie says we'd be in a much better situation if voters realized that these representatives, senators, politicians literally have no soul. You can't appeal to a system's conscience when it doesn't have one. Yeah, Kwame Ture said that. Thank you very much for that. Let me see. Wow, Kurt Boss says asking the powerful to care is the joke Satan loves the most. Whew. Woo. Let me see. Lady Alex says, I am a nurse and we do not have a functioning healthcare system. Yeah. Justice says, I've actually had discussion with Trumpers and white supremacists before multiple times, and every time I expose their asses, they just either give a guilty smile or admit the truth about it. Roger says, Sabrina is a down-home country girl you would not see in those Norman Rockwell old school Coca-Cola ads from the 1950s that you take a picnic to eat sandwiches as she wears her polka dot. Why don't I just get a visual of Savvy in a Norman Rockwell painting while she's presenting the turkey and smiling? I'm sorry. Rush. I just got a picture of her doing that in my head. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Roger says run CBI amendments and veto referendums. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Let me see. Ooh, Killer Grigor says keep your frequencies high, tune in to love, compassion, and charity. Thank you very much, Killer Grigors. Always coming in to elevate the conversation. Oh, thank you. Teresa says I posted a screenshot on Instagram. Perfect. Thank you so very much. Yeah, Killer Grigors, this is a war crime, right? Let me see. Who else? Let me see. Nika Wicca says, Star Yucks. I like that. I'm not going to read what you said, Roger, but there's a lot of people that probably agree with you, though. Earthling said, giving some love. Thank you very much. You see, oh, thank you, Lady Alex. Appreciate it. You guys are so lovely. You guys help me. You guys help me stay that way. Roger in here, he got jokes. I'm gonna tell Savvy what you said. All right, guys. So this is it for the stream. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. I want to thank you all for this as well. Please, if you guys can, do not forget as well to contribute to my friend, my homeboys, GoFundMe for him. You know, he's going through a lot right now, and so I want to make sure that he gets the help that he needs as far as doing mutual aid and trying to do work on the ground. And so he's a beautiful soul, very loving person, very compassionate person. So do that. And also, have you guys got to see my new podcast? Oh, wait, I forgot. Hang on. Let me go here. Did you guys take the poll about Tulsa that I had up? Let's go there. I'm sorry, my bad. Let me share that. I completely forgot. But it says, do you know about the Tulsa Race Massacre? 81% said yes. 12% said no. And then 7% said, I don't remember. I don't know. So that's from 58 votes. So yeah, guys, you know, if you guys are just now, learning about it, I encourage you guys to learn more, especially about what's going on, you know, and all these different race massacres as well. So thank you very much for that. Let me share with you guys. So if you guys have not already, go ahead and subscribe to my new podcast channel called Kind Connections. I recently put out the first episode. So episode number 1 is with Ron Placone. So here's the channel. So you got that there. I already have 82 subscribers, trying to get to 100 before I even get to my second episode. But if you guys would like to, you guys can all go there. And the next episode will be coming out on December 11th. So you guys have that there. So if you guys want to, you guys can also watch that with Ron Placone. And thank you guys so very much for supporting the new podcast channel. I'm trying to branch out and have more conversations with people. And so it is going to be a very interesting and lovely ride. Kind Connections, which is a safe place to be curious. So I have that there. So if you guys would like to. And also, the good part about it is I think I can get monetized. So that would be helpful for me as well. So that channel will be great as well to assist me while I'm looking for a job. So thank you very much for that. Guys, it's time to go. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. You got to do the at the end. Anyway, look, guys, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny because joy is revolutionary, or read because reading is fundamental. I know what I'll be reading later. But anyways, guys, thank you so very much. You guys have yourself a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Mwah, forehead kisses. I will see y'all next week. Take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here. Mwah, forehead kisses.